Hello and welcome to the channel, movie fans. This channel is primarily about movies and cinema, but since Harry Potter had a large part in my formative years and I truly enjoy discussing it to this day, I plan on covering all thing Harry Potter as well on this channel, and today's video will be a good example of what sort of topics and discussions you can expect. Today I'm having a little thought experiment for you guys, and the goal is to rename every book and rating, whether my titles are actually better, and see if there were titles out there which J.K. Rowling missed which could actually portray the book more accurately while sounding better as well. In my opinion, at least 3 books could have been named better than they were. The goal is not to undermine her choices, but to evaluate them honestly, have fun with the process, and see how well different titles might hold up against these standards. When analyzing both the original and alternative Harry Potter book titles, I will evaluate them based on 5 key criteria: relevance to the story, focus on object/place/person, novelty, non-spoiling nature, and overall sound impact. The title should be about a specific object, person, or place that wasn't mentioned before and doesn't spoil anything. It should also sound catchy, and it should be relevant to the main storyline. With all of that out of the way, let's start with Book 1. Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. When it comes to the first book, the original title is most definitely excellent and iconic. The Philosopher's Stone works on all levels. It sounds mythic, ancient, and alchemical. The object is central to the plot. It is never mentioned before the book begins. It instantly establishes the tone of this magical world. The only flaw is that the stone functions more as a MacGuffin than the emotional core of the story. This original title deserves a 9 out of 10 rating in my opinion. Having said that, I did come up with 3 alternative titles. The first of them is Harry Potter and the Mirror of Erised. Mirror of Erised works best for the first book because it is about a mysterious magical object that is not mentioned before the second half of the story. It is instantly intriguing and magical. It's deeply connected to Harry's inner desires, not just the external plot. But the reason it probably wasn't chosen is because while the mirror is emotionally powerful, it is not the main driver of the story. It represents the theme more than the central conflict. Even with those slight issues, this alternative title is a really strong one, and I give it a 9 out of 10 rating. The second alternative title to the first book is Harry Potter and the Forbidden Corridor. This title is about a specific place that is mysterious and dangerous. It leads directly to the final act of the book. However, it doesn't fully work because it feels more like an adventure detail than a legendary concept. It lacks the mythic weight of the Philosopher's Stone. I give this alternative a slightly lower 8 out of 10 rating. The third and final alternative title would be Harry Potter and the Invisibility Cloak. This one works because it's a powerful magical object with instant intrigue. It is central to many key moments in the story, including exploration, secrecy, and the final act. It is not mentioned instantly, and it feels mysterious and iconic, representing Harry's transition from observer to active participant in the wizarding world. But even though the cloak is crucial, it functions more as a tool than the core conflict. Its full mythic importance as a Deathly Hallow isn't revealed until much later in the series. It lacks the singular focus that the Philosopher's Stone provides. I have to give it a lower 7 out of 10 rating. And now it is time for the final verdict. Do I change the original? Honestly, no. Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone may not be the most emotionally precise title, but it is iconic, timeless, and the perfect gateway into the series. The Mirror of Erised would be emotionally stronger, and the Forbidden Corridor sounds great, but as the opening of a franchise, Rowling's choice still wins. No time to waste as we swiftly move to the second book, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. This is where Rowling fully leans into mystery and horror. The title had to sound dangerous, ancient, and tied directly to Hogwarts itself. But did she actually name the book after the true core of the story? Let's break it down. The title is about a place hidden inside Hogwarts that is never mentioned before the book. It is instantly ominous and mysterious and directly tied to the central mystery. It's almost perfect because the chamber is the physical source of the threat. It drives every major event in the story. A minor weakness would be that the title focuses on the location, not the power or person behind it. Still, this is as perfect as it gets, and I give it a maximum 10 out of 10 rating. For the second book, I also prepared 3 alternative titles, and we will start with the powerfully sounding Harry Potter and the Heir of Slytherin. This title works because it's about a person never named before the book. That sounds legendary and threatening. This unknown person directly represents the main conflict and shifts the mystery from the place to the identity. It might be stronger than the original because the story is ultimately about who is opening the chamber. The heir is the real danger, not the room itself. This alternative is truly deserving of a 10 out of 10 rating if you ask me. Harry Potter and the Voice in the Walls is the second alternative. This one may work because it is about a chilling, mysterious phenomenon tied directly to the central mystery. Instantly unsettling, it represents the horror element and the invisible threat haunting Hogwarts. On the negative side of things, it is more atmospheric than concrete. It also feels slightly abstract compared to Rowling's usual focus, and since it is somewhat breaking her established formula, I can give it no more than a 7 out of 10 rating. The final alternative suggestion I have for book 2 is Harry Potter and the Founder's Secret. This title could work because it focuses on a single, legendary secret tied directly to Hogwarts' origins. It centers the story on Salazar Slytherin's hidden legacy without naming him outright. It sounds mythic, ancient, and important, exactly Rowling's style. However, it is too abstract compared to a physical place like the Chamber, puts lore ahead of action, which Rowling usually avoids in early titles. This title gets a 7 out of 10 rating as well. Now it's time for the final decision. Do I keep Rowling's title again? I do. But with a big caveat this time. Chamber of Secrets perfectly matches the horror tone, the mystery structure, and the setting-based danger. But if the goal was to title the book after the main narrative, the Heir of Slytherin might actually be the most accurate name. Rowling chose atmosphere, but this alternative title chooses story, and I'm quite split. I'd love to hear your comments on this choice especially. Without further ado, we move on to Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. The third Harry Potter book is where Rowling fully leans into suspense, revelation, and emotional depth. The title had to sound tense, mysterious, and tied directly to danger approaching Harry, but how does her original title compare to alternative ones? Let's break it down. The title is about a single escaped convict whose presence looms over the story. It is instantly ominous and directly tied to Harry's personal stakes. It works great because it is about the escaped prisoner drives the tension of the plot and forces all major events into motion. Minor weakness would be that the title focuses on the person's identity rather than the emotional and magical threads that make the story truly memorable, so it falls just short of the perfect rating, and I give it 9 out of 10. As you can tell by now, I chose 3 alternatives here as well, and we will start with the Harry Potter and the Silver Stag. It's an interesting one as the Silver Stag is the physical manifestation of hope, identity, and connection to Harry's father. It ties together his journey, the themes of guidance, and the magical legacy in one symbol. On the negative side of things, it is abstract and metaphorical, unlike Rowling's usual formula. The danger element isn't immediately clear to a new reader. It's hard to rate this one as it does sound pretty good, but I can't give it more than 8 out of 10. If the Silver Stag was flawed, that can hardly be said about this one. Harry Potter and the Marauder's Map. It's clear to see why this title works. The Marauder's Map is a literal tool that reveals secrets and shifts the power balance in the story. It introduces both mystery and fun while connecting Harry to his father's legacy. It represents discovery and cleverness, which are central themes of the book. Why it might be stronger than the original? The book is as much about uncovering hidden truths as it is about avoiding danger. The map encapsulates that perfectly. I give it a straight 10 out of 10. In my opinion, it cannot be topped, but still, an honorable mention goes to Harry Potter and the Shrieking Shack. The Shrieking Shack is where the climactic truths unfold. The place of danger, confrontation, and revelation. It is instantly tied to Hogwarts, threatening and mysterious, but by focusing on a location, it slightly downplays the broader story about Sirius, Lupin, and the emotional stakes for Harry. It emphasizes atmosphere over narrative engine, and I give it only 7 out of 10. Now we reach the final decision. Do I keep the Rowling's title for the 3rd time in a row? not this time. Prisoner of Azkaban perfectly conveys tension and looming danger, aligning with the suspenseful tone of the story. But if the goal was to highlight the magical and thematic heart of the book, Marauder's Map might actually capture the narrative more accurately, combining mystery, legacy, and discovery in one memorable phrase, and I slightly prefer it. Now it's time for Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. The fourth book is where Rowling shifts into a bigger, more complex story. Mystery, competition, introduction of romance, and dark forces all collide. The title had to sound magical, dangerous, and tied directly to the events that drive the story. But did she actually name the book after the main storyline? Let's break it down. The title is about a single object, the Goblet of Fire, which selects champions for the Triwizard Tournament. It is instantly iconic, magical, and central to the plot. It works because the goblet sets everything in motion, the tasks, rivalries, and Voldemort's return. What doesn't work for me here, however, is that the title focuses on the object itself rather than the person or event that carries the real stakes, such as the tournament or the dark mark looming over the wizarding world. Of course, the title is perfectly alright, but I think it fares slightly worse to the first three, so I decided to give it 8 out of 10. A more accurate title to the goblet could very well be Harry Potter and the Triwizard Cup. I think it really works because the cup is the object that drives the story forward. It represents the goal, the danger, and the magical stakes of the tournament. The only slight flaw is that by focusing only on the cup, slightly downplays the characters and broader narrative surrounding the events, but still it is so vital and has the necessary air of mystery, so I give it a strong 9 out of 10. Harry Potter and the Triwizard Tournament is another similar alternative. It works for the same reason as the previous. The tournament is the beating heart of the story. Every challenge, mystery, and danger flows from it. This title directly captures the plot's central structure. It might be slightly stronger than the original because it emphasizes the narrative engine, the competition itself, rather than a singular object. This title also receives a 9 out of 10. The last one I have for the fourth book is Harry Potter and the Dark Mark. The Dark Mark symbolizes the real threat and foreshadows Voldemort's return. It ties the story to danger, fear, and the looming darkness over the wizarding world. But it may be more symbolic than literal. The Dark Mark also doesn't represent the tournament itself, which is the bulk of the plot. It's a decent 7 out of 10 for the strong mystery and visual strong points. We come to the verdict again, and it's time to reveal whether I stick with the Goblet of Fire. No, I am changing it to Triwizard Tournament. Goblet of Fire perfectly conveys magic mystery and foreshadowing, and gives the book an instantly iconic object to remember. But if the goal was to highlight the core of the story, Triwizard Tournament would actually be more accurate as it emphasizes the events, characters, and challenges that define this pivotal installment of the series. And if you ask me, it also has a nice sound to it and doesn't lose out too much in that department as well compared to the original. The fifth Harry Potter book is where Rowling takes the series to a darker, more complex level. Politics, rebellion, and personal growth collide with the looming threat of Voldemort. The title had to sound significant, mysterious, and tied to a powerful organization in the wizarding world. How did her title capture this novel? Let's break it down. The title refers to the Secret Order of the Phoenix, a resistance group fighting against Voldemort in the background. It is instantly significant and linked to the rising conflict, but is it the heart of the story? It introduces readers to the larger war outside Hogwarts and ties the book to the struggle against darkness, which works well. However, the title focuses on an external organization, whereas much of the story revolves around Hogwarts students, the prophecy, and hidden magical places that drive the plot forward. I would honestly say that this is easily the worst of the original titles. It sounds cool and catchy, but it represents the novel quite poorly. I give it the lowest rating among the originals, 7 out of 10. Since I'm not here to criticize, but offer possible solutions, here is the first one of the three I picked. Harry Potter and the Lost Prophecy. This one is a good choice because the prophecy drives the tension between Harry, Voldemort, and the Order. It's the reason behind the Department of Mysteries, the visions, and the climactic battle. Minus points go toward its abstract nature and the fact that it doesn't reference the thrilling physical setting where the story peaks. It's not the best option I have, but it is worthy of an 8 out of 10. But this next one is very intriguing to me. Harry Potter and the Room of Requirement. It is a very good choice because the Room of Requirement is where Dumbledore's army trains and prepares. It's central to Harry's growth, the students' resistance, and the rebellion within Hogwarts itself. Still, the room represents only a portion of the story, and it downplays the larger magical and political stakes outside Hogwarts. 9 out of 10 rating is about right for this title. Harry Potter and the Department of Mysteries is my final alternative. It works on all levels. Department of Mysteries is the climax of the story. It's eerie, mysterious, and the site of the final confrontation with Death Eaters. Every critical plot point, the battle, the prophecy, and the loss converges here. It might be stronger than the original because it places the narrative engine front and center. The danger, the mystery, and the stakes all happen in this one location. I give it a maximum 10 out of 10. And that means that I again choose differently to Rowling. Only this time, it was an easy choice for me. While the Order of the Phoenix signals the larger conflict and has mythic weight, it is still the weakest of the original titles due to the Order not being hugely important in the bigger scope of things. The true narrative engine is the Department of Mysteries. It is where the stakes are real, characters tested, and the story reaches its emotional and dramatic climax. For storytelling precision and impact, Department of Mysteries becomes the strongest, most accurate title for this book. The penultimate Harry Potter book is possibly hardest one to name and judge. It is where Rowling deepens the series' darkness, focusing on obsession, secrets, and the looming threat of Voldemort. The title had to sound mysterious, tied to an enigmatic figure, and hint at a powerful magical secret. But how did Rowling title this very difficult to properly name book? Let's break it down. The title refers to the Half-Blood Prince, the identity tied to the potions textbook, and hidden knowledge. It is intriguing, mysterious, and personal to Harry's journey. It works because it draws attention to the secrets, magical skill, and hidden past that shape Harry's growth and the plot. One minor weakness is that the title focuses on a single identity rather than the larger forces and pivotal events unfolding, such as Voldemort's past, Draco's mission, or Hogwarts itself. It's an 8 out of 10 pretty strong title. Having said that, let's see if I can do better, starting with this alternative. Harry Potter and the Unbreakable Vow. The Unbreakable Vow drives Draco's arc and tension within Hogwarts. It represents loyalty, fear, and impending disaster. It's a secret pact that shapes the story's suspense, but it's symbolic and character-specific, which could obscure the broader stakes for casual readers, so I give it a decent 8 out of 10 rating. An event that undeniably makes this book is Dumbledore's death. So with that in mind, I have another interesting title. Harry Potter and the Lightning-Struck Tower. The tower is the site of Dumbledore's death, the climactic and tragic moment that defines the book's emotional weight. However, while central to the finale, it's a location-focused title that may not capture the intrigue, magical secrets, or Voldemort's looming threat throughout the story, so since it fails on that level, I cannot give it more than 7 out of 10. If you think this one is goofy, I have one more which is much stronger. Harry Potter and the Vanishing Cabinet. This title works because the Vanishing Cabinet is central to the climax. It enables the Death Eaters' entry into Hogwarts, and triggers the final chain of events. It's tangible, magical, and directly tied to danger. It is stronger than the original because it places the narrative engine front and center. The danger, betrayal, and stakes converge around this object. It is deserving of a close to perfect 9 out of 10 rating. And with all that in mind, the winner in this round is the Vanishing Cabinet title. Among these three alternatives and the original, the Vanishing Cabinet best represents the story's pivotal plot mechanics and its tension and stakes, so I am choosing it as the best title. We are close to the end of this breakdown, so I want to make a short break in order to thank you for watching this far into the video. I'm certain a minuscule percentage of viewers got to this point in the video, but if you are the one that did, you may just as well give me a like and subscribe to the channel. It took a while to prepare this video, but it is only one of many ideas I want to produce on the channel. Thanks again, and let's move on to the Deathly Hallows. The seventh Harry Potter book is where Rowling brings the series to its epic conclusion. Mystery, adventure, and final confrontations collide as the fate of the wizarding world hangs in the balance. The title had to sound ominous, significant, and tied directly to the ultimate threat. But how does Rowling's title capture all of these conflicts? Let's break it down. The title refers to the Deathly Hallows, three legendary objects that hold immense magical power. It is mysterious, symbolic, and tied to both Harry's quest and the series' central mythology. Why it's almost perfect. It conveys the ultimate stakes, the legendary artifacts, and the convergence of destiny, magic, and choice. One flaw is that the title spreads focus across all three Hallows, but doesn't spotlight the core narrative engines that drive the story forward: the hunt for Voldemort's Horcruxes and the final battles. Still, I found it hard to argue with this title, and it gets a 9 out of 10 rating. A very similar variation that could have also worked, in my opinion, is Harry Potter and the Elder Wand. It works because the Elder Wand represents ultimate power and the climax of the magical conflict. It's the object that defines the final showdown with Voldemort and symbolizes mastery over death itself. It might be stronger than the original as it places the narrative engine, the confrontation, strategy, and magical stakes front and center. Continuing on the topic of the thematic journey, mastery over mortality that is, I also came up with the title Harry Potter and the Master of Death. It captures the philosophical core of the story. Still, it's more abstract, less tied to a tangible object or location, and might be harder for casual readers to immediately connect to the action. It's definitely a weaker one, so I will give it 7 out of 10. An interesting and final choice for the last book is Harry Potter and the Peveril Quest. The quest emphasizes the historical and legendary roots of the Hallows. It links Harry's journey to the story of the Peverils, and makes the quest for the Hallows feel epic and narrative-driven. But honestly, it focuses on lineage and lore rather than the immediate stakes, which might make it feel secondary compared to the threat of Voldemort and his Horcruxes, so for that reason it also doesn't warrant more than 7 out of 10. And that is all the books covered. We have reached the final verdict. This time, I stick with Rowling's original title. Deathly Hallows perfectly captures the convergence of magic, destiny, and ultimate stakes. While the Elder Wand might emphasize the climactic object of power, Deathly Hallows encompasses the full mythology, moral weight, and legendary scope of the story. It's iconic, instantly recognizable, and narratively precise, the definitive title for the final chapter of the series. In the end, Rowling's original titles are undeniably iconic, capturing the magic, mystery, and narrative flow of the series. Yet, exploring these alternatives highlights just how rich and layered the Harry Potter universe truly is. From the Marauders Map to the Triwizard Tournament and the Department of Mysteries, these titles show how different angles on the story could work, while also emphasizing just how masterfully Rowling crafted the series' original names. This is the final review of the titles I picked. I'm excited to hear what you guys have to say, but please cut me some slack. This is purely a thought experiment and the celebration of Rowling's work. She, of course, knows her story the best. Thanks again for watching, and see you in the next video.